to open process and count ballots. Their work is not easy, and I just want to say thank you to everybody in all 67 counties who have been working so hard and so diligently. I know this is something that we do every election, and it's part of the election process, but they have really worked hard in this one, and the eyes of the world are on Pennsylvania, so that's especially important. This election is a reminder that the most important thing we all do is protect our democracy, and that is to protect our democracy is to make sure that we have an accurate and full count of our vote. And that's exactly what Pennsylvania is doing right now. It's not surprising, as I've said before, that this election, the returns are taking a little longer than we're used to. But that's actually a good sign. Part of the reason for that is because so many more people have voted. And it does mean that votes in Pennsylvania are actually being counted. We're taking the time to make sure that in this new system that went into place the end of last year, that all the votes are being counted. Again, the vote is central to our democracy. It's how we all choose the people to be our public servants. This is the hiring process, the election. We have to have fair elections, and those elections have to be free of external influences. We need to have confidence that people are choosing their leaders and that the leaders are not choosing the people who vote for them. We need to make sure that the voters are choosing the leaders, not the other way around. Elections are the bedrock of our democracy, and our Commonwealth and our country thrive when people freely exercise this franchise. And that's why it's essential that every eligible vote is counted in this election and in every election. We've seen efforts across the country to undermine this election and to block the counting of votes. This afternoon, the Trump campaign filed a lawsuit to stop the counting of ballots in Pennsylvania. That is simply wrong. It goes against the most basic principles of our democracy. It takes away the right of every American citizen to cast their vote and to choose our leaders. Our election officials at the state and local levels should be free to do their jobs without fear, without intimidation, without attacks. These attempts to subvert the democratic process are simply disgraceful. We're going to fight every single attempt to disenfranchise voters. We will continue to administer free and fair elections in Pennsylvania. Let me be clear, in Pennsylvania, every vote is going to count. I'm going to fight like hell to protect the vote of every Pennsylvanian. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that every vote counts, because in Pennsylvania, every voice matters, every vote matters. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to a Secretary of State who's done a phenomenal job of making this election, I think, as smooth as any election I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of elections in Pennsylvania. Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar.
Hi, everybody. We've got to stop meeting like this. Please soon. So thank you all for coming. It was another really good day in Pennsylvania. Our amazing county election directors and personnel across the Commonwealth once again just put in incredible hours and time and energy and patience and attention to detail to make sure that they could proceed with counting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ballots. They've made excellent progress. They're still working. Department of State are still working, all back at our operations center. I'm going to be going back there after this, and we will be continuing to work into the night, all of us, to support the counties to get this done. So I expect, hundreds of thousands more probably to be counted still tonight. So you could keep watch on the Election Night Returns website. And, at this point, I think we're actually probably a little bit ahead of where I thought we would be, which is great. So stay tuned. But still thinking, we're talking about a matter of days before the overwhelming majority of ballots are counted. I was thinking the other day, just a couple of days ago, was the 100th anniversary. We celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment this year. And so just a couple of days ago, November 2nd, was the 100th anniversary of the first election that those suffragists got to vote in, and I think when Governor Wolf was talking about how much we cherish and will fight for every voter's right to vote, I think about the suffragists, and it's really been an inspiration all year long to be in this position and to be working to make sure that every single voter of all backgrounds. And I should say, we had 100 years ago was the 19th Amendment, and then of course there were decades longer that voters of color were still denied the right to vote. And it took, civil rights activists, the, incredible struggles and tragedies and triumphs that led to President Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And I take all of this with me every day in this job to make sure that we ensure that every single qualified and eligible voter has the opportunity to vote. And I'm so thankful to work for Governor Wolf, who is incredibly dedicated to that mission as well. So we will continue to fight for every Pennsylvanian for their vote to be counted. And thank you all for being here, and we're happy to take questions.
Either. With the lawsuits that you just described, Governor Wolf, I mean, is it likely that this count will be shut down anytime soon? Is that possible?
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what's possible, but I think if you're talking about the Trump lawsuit, the one that Rudy Giuliani talked about, I think they were concerned about the lack of openness and transparency. Well, the Philadelphia that they're talking about has been streaming the processing of ballots, I think right from the start, from the pre-canvassing period. I mean, I think it's being live streamed on their website. So I guess you can get it, anybody can get it anywhere in the world. So I'm not sure how that equals a lack of transparency. It seems to me it's never been more transparent than it is right now. I don't know, Kathy, you are a lawyer. You want to say something?
I mean, we can't comment on active litigation, but I can tell you that we will oppose every effort to at any point shut down the vote. We get to decide when the last vote is counted.
Yeah, clearly, it sounds like you're clearly saying, like, you're not expecting this to result in any kind of order where you would have to stop counting.
There, again, I can't comment on what any court is going to do, but no, we don't have any anticipation that the vote count is going to stop. I think it will continue until the last ballot is counted and every vote is going to have the opportunity to cast their vote.
If I could, they're also trying to stop counting of certain ballots. Including the ones that came in after yesterday, and then those ones that wound up being provisional because people were notified. My question is, do you have any estimate on how many ballots are at stake in those categories that they're trying to stop?
So no, I mean, I think that as I'm not sure if you were here earlier. I think it was this morning that I was asked, and we really won't know the full scope of the universe of ballots until the canvass is finished. But I can tell you, I mean, for the late arriving ballots, I think it's actually it seems to be so far a much lower number of late arriving ballots than what we saw in the primary. So, but again, it's anecdotal. I've only heard from a couple of counties, but large counties from opposite ends of the state, it was both a very modest number of ballots. So that's good news. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Hundreds. Yeah. So it was great. I mean, obviously, I would rather nobody have, rather nobody fall into the category. And obviously, we're going to count every one of those ballots, as I've talked before. But it seems to be a very modest number. So.
Your also ability to, I know to some extent you can judge how many are still out there.
Are you talking about for the ballots arriving after November 3rd? Or are you talking about other things?
I'm talking mainly about the ones that coming in after November 3rd.
So, I mean, we'll track them day by day because the law as it stands applies to ballots, that are cast by Election Day and received by 5 p.m. on November 6th.